We'd like to call this meeting to order. We would like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. Kind of approval of the agenda, please. Moved, seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. No closed meeting. So the President Court, consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, seconded. Moved to seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried, thank you. Business arising from the minutes, I don't believe there is any. Staff reports and other business. Deputy CAO verbal update.
All right, Mr. Budd is here to speak to this topic of staff discussions with the MOTI.
Perfect. More Butt, Director of Environmental Services. We haven't had a recent meeting with Ministry of Transportation. At the last meeting, we kind of discussed about how they like to see things come forward, and anytime something comes up, I do connect directly with them, and they're pretty responsive in that regard. So kind of on a case by case basis, I bring things forward to them. I know a big piece of this was the Duffy, and while there's no plans for paving the any paving to go down the Duffy this year, it is good to see that they're doing that geotechnical assessment, because that would need to be done anyways to determine how many millions of dollars they're going to need. But myself, I've driven that quite a bit last year and quite a bit this year as well, and it's noticeably worth this year for sure. So we'll keep pushing and keep letting them know that our comments on that road. The other piece, we recently had a questionnaire from the province on Miller Capilano's performance. So I did give some feedback to them on their performance, and one of the big pieces for me is their communication. I don't think I've ever seen anything from Miller Capilano, telling about their work plans or any upcoming work and stuff like that. So that's a thing I think they could do much better on.
Did you get a reply to that question that you asked?
Which one?
Well, about the, them letting us know what their plans are. Because like you say, we don't know anything they're doing until they're doing it.
Yeah. So that wasn't the question. That was a feedback given, but I can follow up and
Yeah.
make sure that.
What I think I forwarded to you last week. There's been 2 cars up on the Duffy, those burnt out cars. So Jamie Cook, who's their manager or whatever, I think 2 months ago when I talked to him about it, and I've been talking to him for probably a year. 2 months ago, he assured me they would be, well, first off, it was the same old, it's not our deal. It's the RCMP, it's ICPC, it's whoever. And I said, I don't care whose it is. They got to be picked up, and you just can't leave abandoned, burnt out cars on the edge of a provincial highway, right? So okay, I'll send the deck truck up and we'll get them out of there. Well, they're still there. So then last week, contact them again. I said, when are you going to do this? You assured me you were going to do it. We can't do it now till July. And I go, why do you have to wait till July? Why can't you do it right now? Send the deck truck up, pick them up. It's not a big deal to me anyways. But I don't know, maybe you can just ring that one up on them too and just say, we're getting complaints. And I mean, I've got emails from people that drive that road go, why are those cars still there? They're like an eyesore.
Yeah, it's been there. They've been there for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Before I started.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. But back to your thing, like with this Miller Cap Group. They're totally unresponsive to any, complaints or, and like, just like say with the Upper Meadows Road. This has been going on since they started. They got a grader operator who doesn't know how to run a grader. And he's completely destroyed the road. And so we're living with it, right? Well, the people that live up there are living with it. But they do nothing when you question them on it. And I guess the thing that's most frustrating is, who are we dealing with now at this point? Michael Braun, or like, who is it?
I think we still be Jeff.
It's always somebody different, right? So there's no continuity in that position. So it's hard to deal with them when the MOT person always has an excuse. So what's his name, George Abbott now, or what's it? Jeff. Like that, I mean, he'll tell you flat out, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just new here, right? And you go, that's great, you're the guy in charge of this operation, and you're telling me you don't know what you're doing. Wonderful, right? But there's no recourse for us. I find it very frustrating.
So, and my feedback, I think, going back again, is communication, because if you're open with the public and letting them know,
Yeah.
Whether you're doing a crappy job or not, if you're communicating, it makes a huge difference. So.
Yeah.
And then we can also look at, I don't know when that Miller Capilano contract is up, but again, our feedback can go to the province.
I think there's about 4 more years left on it. Because it was a 10-year contract. And it used to be 5-year contracts, and then when these guys signed on, they changed it to 10-year contracts. And I think we're in say year 6, something like that. So we've definitely got 4 years left, right? Yeah, I don't know. So,
I gotta pipe into this one.
yeah, go right ahead.
Going back, in our area anyway, it was Interior Roads that had the contract, and then they switched to Dawson Road Maintenance, which is the same company. And they had a quality control manager, and that quality control manager would actually come down. And at the time with Debbie, have a meeting with Debbie, and then in the early part of my terms, I would meet with the quality control manager and talk about issues and the quality of their performance. That's not happening anymore, but we do have our MLA MODI meetings, and it's the MLA that actually spearheads those meetings. You've attended them now, and they're held every 4 months. But we still don't get enough detail from MODI on what the plans are. And the contractor now is basically not part of those meetings. And so you lose out on that piece for the contractors. And the contractors have a hard time telling you what they're gonna do, because it's hard for them to plan. They can plan projects, but they can't normally plan their regular maintenance because of a lot of the various environmental impacts that happen, specifically on the roads around the Lillooet area, and Road 40 and Mission Mountain and the High Line. Which are, they've got a lot of gravel roads, and so that impacts what they've got to do. And after a major event, there's a big cleanup that has to happen, and so on and so forth. So it's hard for them to say it. But at the 2023 UBCM, the motion that I made that the board approved was on their quantified maintenance plans, because they have, the contractor has to give out to to Monty, their 2-year quantified maintenance plans every year. So every year it gets updated, but they're 2-year plans. And you know, the SLRD, I don't think has received a reply back from UBCM yet, but it is online. And the reply was, you know, set up meetings basically and talk to Monty about what the plans are for the area. And that was from the minister's office. So the other thing that I do a lot with our local population is they had to have an online form, all of them. They had to have a website, they had to have certain things that in new contracts. And one of them was a social media website and also an online form that you can fill out. I tell them to fill them out. And you get a email reply once you've filled it out and send it out. You can attach images, whatever. That way it gets documented. It's actually documented. And Monty, at certain times of the year, will review them with them. All that documentation that goes in. So let's say that road there, if people continually just put it in, then it's documented. And Monty has that.
Well, like with that Upper Meadows Road.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they are complaining and sending pictures. I mean, we've got these pictures here where we've got Jody Atwater out there with a level and a tape measure showing you how deep the holes are.
Yeah.
And this goes on constantly, right?
Yeah.
From all the folks out there, so they definitely know.
And there's regulations around all that, how big the
Yeah,
pond is gonna be.
I know, but they don't live up to that, even.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, hang on, Jackie, even in, say, down through Whistler, Squamish, all that, there's potholes in the roads now down there that have been there for months. And I mean, Christ, that's probably one of the highest used roads in the province, with all the folks traveling to Whistler from the Lower Mainland, wherever. And here's these holes in the road that, like I say, they've been there for years almost. I drive down there quite often and I'm dodging the same holes I've been dodging for years. And you're thinking, I guess the thing that frustrates me is they have a person in each area that drives the roads every day to make sure there's no trees, boulders, whatever. But those guys that are driving that road every day, they dodge the same potholes that I dodge. And I'm thinking, like, why are you not writing this down and keep, you know, and back to what you're saying, there's a performance standard and it's supposed to be dealt with within a certain time frame. Well, they're definitely not living up to that. So, you know, maybe we need to, once again, move this along to the board level and get everybody through the corridor to, you know, sign on to this and say, come on, you guys, just live up to the contractor. Well, maybe even that's not the right thing to say because, I don't know how you force them to do this stuff. A question for Jen. So, you know, when they did the upgrade for the Olympics, there was a 10-year warranty on the road or something,
That was before my time. I lived in the corridor, but I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
involved politically.
So I remember like Kiewit, that had the contract, they had a 10-year, the road was guaranteed for 10 years. So anything, that's why for that first 10-year period, you'd see them doing patches here, there and everywhere, like lots of paving, and you think, why are they doing that? I mean, it's in pretty good shape, right? But there was a performance-based warranty on it. And obviously that warranty now would be, it was, I believe, 10 years, so it's over. So now it's, I guess, up to the province to be.
Well, there's still, there's always some patching, some cones out, some repairs going on, like,
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever driven the length of the highway that there isn't some form of repair happening somewhere. But it's never where you think it should be, and it's never enough, and it's never,
well, I just think that these potholes, they should be fixed. Within a certain time frame.
well, we have one in Whistler that feels like it's perpetually there. For 22 years it's been there, except that they repair it every year. So it's not that they're not repairing it, it's that it's constantly reopening.
Yeah,
There must be a sinkhole underneath it.
yeah, no, but
So it feels like they're never doing anything, but that's just not the case.
see, like
We
with the
just don't.
Duffy, the Duffy was an old logging road that they paved over.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they built those logging roads, there's logs under there, there's all sorts of stuff. And look, so those logs rot away, and that's where you get your depressions and that, right? So the road base itself wasn't meant to last for an eternity sort of thing, right?
Yes,
Jackie,
Hi. I agree with everything that's been said. The frustrations with communication seem to be pretty key across the board from in my world as well. And I just wanted to, back up what Sal was saying, and Chair Mac with your frustrations with just it seems like they're not getting to the issues. And it seems that at this point, the idea of moving it along to the board and punting it up to sort of the higher power to be MLA level. This road is definitely needs some TLC, and they did it, like you said, up until that contract with the contractor that did the work with the Olympics. And the biggest thing too, and I think it came up maybe during some email strings, but we have to also recognize that from our area, this is one of the egresses out for emergencies. And then going back to what Chair Mac was saying about it used to be a logging road. Yes, I remember driving that when it was actually gravel. And another thing that I don't know if it's been followed up with is that there were complaints about not enough pullout spots. And definitely this is a safety issue. When we were doing EOC work in 2017 and even 2021, the idea of having to go down the Duffy, because it was the only way that we were going to be able to go to places for evacuation accommodation, then we were looking at like needing a lot of highway just traffic control and traffic review, like, because if you get somebody broken down in a big lineup of traffic, there's nowhere to pull over. So this is another issue that I just wanted to raise. The other thing, going back to the fact that it just always doesn't seem enough, like Director Ford was saying, is that we're now in a different era. We're in that era of climate change where the old contracts where they used to be able to do mowing and maintenance and all the rest of it on a fairly regular schedule, now there just always seem to be, like right now we're in a little bit of a lull, which is really weird, but we had low snowpack, so we didn't have any flooding. So this whole climate change era of, dealing with those major impacts needs to be reflected in those contracts so that there's extra money or extra something to be able to address those while still being able to maintain and do all the regular work that has to occur. And the Duffy definitely, like Chair Mac said, old logging road, but also it's just definitely in one of those we're guaranteed rugged in Lillooet. I mean, this is a highway that it has some geotechnical complexities, and we're always going to be dealing with that. So it's important for emergencies, and it's important for economic development, because this is one of the main ways that tourists come up through Vancouver, they go through Lillooet, and then they head on over to Alberta. So I just wanted to point those things out. Only other thing, the last thing I want to point out was the fact that with the hydro projects that are going to occur in Lillooet, no matter what, we're going to probably see more traffic going over the Duffy. So that's going to be more impacts and more challenges and more traffic and wear that's going to occur. So, you know, we know there's going to be a camp somewhere in Lillooet. We know there's going to be a camp somewhere in the Bridge River Valley. We don't really know if they're going to go, which highway they're going to go over, but there will be traffic going over the Duffy because people will be returning to Vancouver via that way as well as through the canyon. So those are other key factors that I think that need to be raised to the board level to point out to our MLA that this needs to be looked at and the assessments done and some key communication given to the SLRD so that we know what's going to happen in the future to address these issues. Thank you.
Yeah, just the point you made about the Duffy being an emergency way in and out, back in 2008, when the rock or the cliff slid there at right by Tony's area there in Furry Creek. So that blocked that sea to sky off for a fair period of time. So the only way out of here or getting, I remember fuel coming in was all over the Duffy, right? So if you had to, that would, if that happened again, and it very well could, then that's our only way in and out of here, other than the High Line or the Hurley, which is, you know, suspect at best. You're not gonna have,
Come on now.
well, you're not gonna have a lot of traffic going over there. But so everything coming into our corridor is gonna come over the Duffy, like all the groceries to the stores, everything. And I mean, that road is, well, it's a mess, to be polite about it. So I don't know, maybe that's a way of getting their attention is to bring up that deal of when the road was shut down. That's our only way in and out of here. Yeah, it's just something for you to think about.
The road doesn't necessarily have to be shut down if you think of emergency evacuation. And if the circumstance were dire enough that you're trying to evacuate Whistler and Squamish, can't all go south. You know, some would have to go.
Oh, yeah, even if the southern portion was wide open, yeah, absolutely. And think about it, it's only a single lane road, right? So very few passing lanes, all that stuff that Jackie mentioned, and yeah, I mean, it would be a real challenge to clear this corridor out. And we just hope that never happens, right? Because I don't think it would be very pretty. Anyways, so.
Yeah, I just wanna mention about the BC Hydro and all the projects that they have coming up in the Bridge River Valley, Seton, Portage, Lillooet. One of the things that I'm seeing is that any future work, because they've got all these scenarios of how they're gonna bring the people in and where they're gonna stay, and so they haven't made up their minds yet. So on Road 40, there really is nothing gonna happen, because Monty's looking at, you know, if they're gonna use Road 40 as their main route in, then what improvements are gonna be needed, and how much money is BC Hydro gonna put into that road? That's the same scenario with the Hurley. Is, you know, it's the shortest route from Vancouver to get in there, and one of the plans is that they're gonna have it open year round for the duration of the project, which is, you know, it starts in 2017 to 2032, but it could be longer, as most projects are are taking longer, and we have actually stated that. So, I did have a conversation with the roads manager for Cascades Forest District, and we've got that, rest of that material that was created is about half of it left. And I says, do you have a plan? Did you get the funding to lay that out? No, we're waiting to see what BC Hydro is gonna do. So everything's kind of delayed on any improvements to Road 40 or the Hurley, because until they're waiting for BC Hydro to finally make up their mind on what they're gonna do. And BC Hydro, they want redundancy because of the issues on Road 40, and then if they use the Hurley also, you know, the impacts of the wintertime on closures because of the snow. So they're looking at redundancy in their plan. It's quite interesting what's happening in the roads.
So we should just have a motion then to receive.
This discussion.
I just have a very minor question on about Modin, and seeing as I'm not sitting here. The bus stop at Britannia Beach, we had to apply for a permit. Is that what we have to do?
If that's the direction that the board wants to go, then yeah, we would.
So what do you need? You would need a resolution from the board asking you to apply for a bus stop at Britannia Beach.
I feel like that was part of the development.
Not really. It's not on, it's not McDonald's land, it's
It's on the right of way.
it's on the right of way, and they're talking about closing off, there's an exit back onto the highway, and that they're gonna close that off. No argument with that, let's get it closed. But when that's closed off, it would make sense to have the bus stop right there. And I know we had the discussion with them, we had some response back from Mr. Egan, who of course doesn't like it, but there has to be a bus stop somewhere along there. There has to be. And that's the logical place for it. So
I don't know if Kristen has any, like that regional transit plan. I don't know where that's at it, if.
That's, yeah.
Cause that would.
Take that offline.
That would be one bus stop that we would have, that we would manage out of. Well, and for me, I wanna make sure that we're thinking long-term as what a part of our regional transit and how that's gonna be managed.
yeah, I'd say that if you consider Britannia, there has to be a northbound bus stop when we have a transit system. So if you look along that section of the highway, that really is the only place it could be. It makes any sense because it's close to the commercial area. There's a footpath to get to it. There's parking next to it, so you can park and ride, that sort of thing. It's really the only place that makes sense. So I'll put something. Shall I put something together? No.
Can we ask staff like offline just to, because there's parts of, sorry, through the chair.
No, go, just.
It's been a part of our regional transit advocacy plan. It's been a part of it was a part of the original drawings of the Britannia redevelopment, that whether it was in their development or part of the right of way or sort of a one day when we have a more robust regional transit plan, it's been a part of that. But how far down the road that planning is at the province, I think is part of our regional transit strategy. So a resolution, while it might be useful for elevating the profile of the project, I think is a part of the sort of bigger strategy. And so
I understand what you're saying there. It's just as the project is winding down,
yeah,
some decisions need to be made about that area because what Modi wanted to do was close it down,
Yeah.
which is absolute nonsense.
Mhm.
we have a contract, we have a commitment from McDonald's to build a substantial bus shelter.
Yes.
They're not gonna be there that much longer, you know,
Right.
it becomes more, if they've moved out because everything's finished, then to come back and build a bus shelter, or for us to take their money and then find somebody else to build the bus shelter, it's gonna end up costing us more.
Yeah, okay,
So, you know, I'd really like to see, when they close that entrance to the highway, when they close that off, that, as that's done, the bus layout, it needs a little bit of work on the berm. They're just cleaning a little bit out. Very minor, but if it were done at the same time, it would be much easier than sort of having them close it off and then having to come back later and
yeah.
fix it.
Would-
And there's the Squamish connector. It's a private bus, but it's the only thing that's serving sort of Vancouver, Britannia, Squamish. And they've been told they can't stop there at the moment because it's not an official bus stop.
Yeah.
Well, it's inconvenient to pull in and do something else. So, you know, having the bus stop there, even if it's only being used by a private company right now, and as children move into that, into the new townhouses, where are they going to get the school bus?
Mhm.
And it would be a convenient place for the school bus to pull in as well. So that's why I prefer to be moving on it now rather than pushing it down the road. And if it were there, if it's established and it's there, when we finally get to the point of transit, then you've got an established bus stop, which is the same as at Furry Creek.
Mhm.
That bus stop's been there for 25 years. And when the bus does come, that is where it will stop, you know, it's
So.
Yeah,
It would be
my
helpful.
thought would be, we should move this along. Because you could plan it now to fit into future plans, but it needs, like, there's use for it now.
yeah, absolutely.
So a
And that puts the
resolution from,
pressure on.
yeah, so a resolution from this committee to the board to ask planning to report back on where the Modi referral, because part of the development permit is having Modi referrals, and that would be included in that.
Okay, so.
So the work is already in trained. It's really just asking for staff to report back, rather than us creating a new piece of work.
Right,
It's a report back on work already and trained.
okay.
Would that be fair? Kristen?
That sounded like, I think I just made a really good resolution there.
Yeah.
Did you get that, Angela?
Through the chair. Sheriff or Director Ford's provided a great pathway. I just wanted to confirm that, so Director Butt's been working with you on this project. I'm not sure how much the planning director has been involved. Another pathway, but might delay, is to bring a director's report kind of with some of this background, because, or the board isn't really aware of maybe all this work that's this, you know, what you've explained. But this resolution could be passed today, referred to the board, and then brought back. Otherwise, if you brought a director's report, that could come to the board. I mean, it could kind of, if you were able to bring it, they could both land on the board agenda.
I just feel like the work is already in train with
Yeah.
the Modi referrals and the planning staff and the development approval process, and there's like a number of things that have already been done, so not to create new work for Tony and Director Butt to create a new staff report that then delays the process. I think this could be part of the committee minutes that come to the board in 2 weeks.
This discussion.
Like it's minuted, and then we have the discussion and ask them,
The videos available.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that it's not a delay. It's just a report back.
Kim's well aware of
Okay.
what's been going on and,
I just don't want
I
delays.
don't know, was that, no, we met with Moti down there and everything, so. All right, so what did I just move?
Thank you. Through the chair, possible resolution could be that it be recommended to the board that the planning department report back on status of the MOTI referrals related to the future Britannia Beach transit stop. That's roughly.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omar.
We're gonna be hearing from Moti as well about reciting the mailboxes. That's gonna be fun, but,
Yeah.
go.
Okay, 7.2 is an information report, June 2024 Select Funds Report. And Suzanne is here in person on her crutches. So she shouldn't be laughing.
Oh, yeah, I created this report for Colin because he was away.
What's this? Oh, there it is.
Okay, everybody, just have a look at your segment and if there's any questions.
I just got one.
Then go ahead.
On the allocations committed, the flooring project asbestos testing. The receipts were presented, they not,
We're using the,
for the Goldberg Community Club.
yeah, so there's that 80,000 area code for that as well. Is it the hazardous test?
No, this is the flooring project at the Goldberg Community Club. The flooring project.
I'll review that. Yeah, I'll have to find what Colin has done on that so far.
Okay, because they did present their invoices.
You're okay?
Yep.
Do you have anything, Jackie? For area B?
No, I'm pretty sure it all looks good, and Vivian will have already taken a look, but there was no red flags for me. It looks great.
Thank you. And area C, I'm good with everything that's on here. Tony?
Yeah, just one question about area D, Suzanne. The 2023 allocations committed. The last one there is the tactical flashlights for the fire department.
Yeah, I think that is completed, but
I
I'll
thought so, because
double check. There was still, there's still some receipts that were coming through late, so I just kept that balance just in case others came through.
because Rob was dealing directly with, Rob Van Dorn was dealing directly with you on that, was he not?
But it seems like I might be missing some receipts, because there
Oh.
wasn't a lot that came through, so I'll just double check with him.
Can I just leave that with you then? I don't need to call Rob or anything.
Oh, no, you don't have to call it,
Okay.
yeah. I'll-
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Director LaFrance, I've got one request, and I'm not sure when the next gas tax bill funding report is coming out, but I'd sure like to know where we're at with all the wild loss property owners on their asbestos testing, and how many have completed and how much money has been distributed to them.
So you'd like us a report back?
Yeah.
Maybe we need a resolution for that then?
So as we sort of discussed on the side there on Monday there, the gas tax allotment that we were getting every year, so that fund or that program, it ended when, at the end of 2023 or the end of 2024?
March 31st, 2024, that agreement ended. And
Okay, so that it's over and done with. So right now, we're just waiting to find out whether who is it, the federal government puts the money to UBCM and then they manage it, disperse it.
that's correct.
And we just are waiting for that to be
Yeah.
announced or,
What they're replacing it with.
yeah, and so is there a good feeling that they are gonna replace it with something?
I think UBCM definitely is
Yeah.
pulling for.
So in my mind, I would think, okay, so if that gas tax fund was working and it ended, why didn't they just extend it for another 5 years or 10 years? But I guess they'll come up with a new name. And it'll sound like it's a new program and all that sort of stuff. Politics at play,
Well, we could talk about it all day.
yeah.
There's bigger
So,
decisions
but-
to be made somewhere else.
And we don't know how the allotment will go, whether it'll be a continuation of the amount that we were getting, or if there'll be a new formula or how that works.
Not for 2025 and forward. They did send, UBCM did send a letter letting us know what the 2024 amount was. And so I've used that and dispersed it via our current policy allocations. But when I get the new agreement, I think I'll open up the policy and we'll discuss changes that could be made to make it more efficient. But I'm still waiting just for that information
Yeah.
before I come back and open it.
As background for your comfort, the local governments associations, so UBCM on behalf of British Columbia, every province has one. Only British Columbia manages through UBCM. Everyone else negotiates through directly with the federal government, so it's not as efficient. But FCM has been working on the municipal growth framework, which has been several years of getting to a point where they say property taxation does not adequately serve communities at the ground level where local governments are having to take on the cost of infrastructure and aging infrastructure and, cost increases and all of that. And so FCM has worked very, very hard to get to a new municipal growth framework. And this last weekend was the FCM convention. And I wasn't there, obviously. So, but there's a lot of work being done to sort of say property tax can't be the only way that local governments are funded. So that's part of that kind of bigger discussion with the feds to hopefully get a better deal.
When you say local governments, are you saying like municipal and regional or just?
Yeah, we're not talking about just municipalities because there's an acknowledgement that that regional districts are an order of government, just not it's not a municipality, it's a regional district.
Yeah,
And in other provinces, they don't have regional districts, and so British Columbia is different. But no less complicated than a municipality, just totally different, so.
so then are you saying that the money would, instead of going through UBCM, would come directly to local governments
No.
or still go through UBCM?
No, there's a working group that I used to sit on as the president of UBCM, working with a federal partner and with a provincial partner through their ministries of finance. So sitting with the Minister of Finance and with the Minister of Finance at the federal level. And I don't see that because it works really, really well to have UBCM administer that fund. They do it at the sort of most efficient level. And so I don't see that changing. I could be wrong, but yeah.
No, well, if it's efficient, just leave it alone.
Well, it's super inefficient in other provinces where each municipality has to ask for their money separately and there's all kinds of challenges with it. So UBCM does it the best, in my opinion. The point is gas tax and the other ways that local governments are funded from province and federal governments is being reevaluated because it doesn't work to just rely on property taxes. So I suspect we'll see something as far as a new funding mechanism, and this would be a part of it. It's like how the gas tax,
And that should happen this year then,
I hope so, because the
Because-
agreement had already
because
expired.
right now we're in limbo, so to speak. So, okay, so the money that should have been coming for this year,
Yeah,
did a payment come to UBCM or?
that I don't know. I think so. I don't think they would hold back because it's still money
Yeah.
kind of accounted for, even though it's not promised. But therein lies a gap in my knowledge.
Okay, so when Suzanne figures this all out, we'll
It's all
be the
on
first
you.
to know, right?
I'll bring a report. It's good to have the new agreement and.
Okay, thank you. Everybody's good with that? So motion to
Angela?
receive.
No, Angela, you got my motion?
Can you repeat that, please?
See it? That staff bring back a report for the Gun Lake welfare debris funding contribution and the money spent or the money
Accessed.
accessed by the property owners.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. And
The receipt.
then I need a motion to just receive the report. So moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. And very nice to see you in person.
Yeah.
Again, actually.
For a minute there, only one crutch?
I can do one, but it's a little riskier.
Okay, 7.3. Request for decision, electoral area C zoning bylaw amendment, Wedgewood Estates. Excuse me. So having read through all of this, is there any questions from anybody on this? Oh, okay, and Kim's here too. So,
Oh, that's nice.
is Alex gonna give us sort of a breakdown of this? It seems pretty straightforward, but yeah, if you would like to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Chair. So Alex Mackay, planner with the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. So this is on page 16 of your agenda package if you want to follow along. This is a fairly straightforward and minor zoning amendment application for Strata Lot 12, which is 9035 Riverside Drive. It's in the existing subdivision of Wedgewood's Estates. And this is to permit the existing sales center building that's currently located on the parcel to become an accessory building with an ADU unit contained within it. So under recently amended provisions of the Local Government Act, we're now prohibited from holding public hearings in cases where a zoning amendment is consistent with the official community plan in force and where it's more than 50% residential. So this application will meet both of those requirements for waiving the public hearing. In terms of existing use on the parcel, they're currently zoned to allow for a single family dwelling, an accessory dwelling unit, or secondary suite. So one of the last two. It's quite a large parcel. It's 1.42 hectares. So there's quite a large area that can accommodate residential uses on the parcel. It's near the bottom of the subdivision accessed off of Riverside Drive. And so what they're applying for is basically to allow the accessory dwelling unit portion of the accessory building to be larger than is otherwise permitted under the zoning. So under the current zoning, we allow for an ADU of up to 90 square meters, and they are proposing an ADU of up to 140 square meters. The total building area, the maximum is 200 square meters under our current zoning. They're not proposing to change that, just to kind of shuffle the areas within it. So the area allocated to residential use would be larger. I do also want to mention that we're currently in the process of amending the Area C zoning bylaw under the small scale multi-unit housing amendments. That's currently sitting at third reading, and under that, the ADU gross floor area is proposed to be amended to 110 square meters. So that brings those numbers a little bit closer together. This proposal is consistent with our RGS, and it's consistent with the OCP for Area C in that it focuses development into an existing community. It proposes repurposing an existing building, and it supports the provision of a range of housing choices. So in terms of how this would land in the zoning bylaw, as I mentioned, it's quite a minor amendment. So we would be removing sales center as a permitted use under the CD1 zone, as that is no longer needed. And then we would be adding a site-specific use for Strata Lot 12, allowing for that 140 square meter accessory dwelling unit. So that's about 322 square feet larger than what would otherwise be permitted once the small scale multi-unit housing amendments go through, if those are approved. So I'll leave it there and happy to take questions. Thank you.
Yes, Tony, go ahead.
The sales center is going to end up as a residential unit, a home?
Yes, so through the chair, you'll see there's actually a photograph of the existing sales center building in your package, in the appendices, Appendix A. So it is essentially, it looks very much like a residential building. I think it has been used a little bit for that purpose, and it definitely would meet the kind of a consistent aesthetic with the rest of the residential buildings in Wedgwood's estate. So what they're proposing is that they will keep that building. It will become an accessory dwelling unit under the zoning bylaw, and they would have enough room to potentially add a garage onto that structure, keeping it within that 200 square meter maximum that's currently set.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other questions? No, I think that's a good use of the building, obviously.
Yeah.
Just repurpose it and carry on. So what I will move then is option one, your preferred option. So that is to waive the public hearing for Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, electoral area C, zoning bylaw 765/2002, amendment bylaw number 1866/2024. I'll move that. Seconded. Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we refer that to the board then, is that what's happening there? Yeah. Okay.
So the next is,
Yeah.
excuse me, 7.4, which is direction request temporary use permit number 75, electoral area C. Anna's going to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Director. Good morning, everyone. Anna Paterna, planner analyst with the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. So this is an application concerning a residential property in electoral area C. That's in the Pool Creek neighborhood, about 2.5 kilometers south of Gates Lake. So the applicants are wanting to host commercial events, which is not a use currently permitted in their rural 1 zone, which is why they're applying for a temporary use permit for a period of 3 years. The events they're contemplating are weddings, markets, community events, and corporate dinners with up to 200 attendees. And that's with the intention to host these events in temporary structures with temporary bathrooms, and all the food and water will be brought on site and removed after each event. Note that while a property needs to be zoned appropriately to host commercial events of any size, a special event permit is not required for events with less than 200 attendees. So in this case, special event permits will not be required for each event should this TUP be permitted. The TUP policy does contemplate community contributions as a condition of a temporary use permit. And as such, we are proposing that should this TUP be approved, the applicants contribute $500 per event to go to an SLRD community fund and offset impacts related to increased bylaw enforcement, potential fires, and disturbances of peace. A notice of this TUP was mailed out to neighbors within 150 meters of the subject property. And interestingly, one of the further neighbors has emailed the SLRD with concerns regarding noise, stating that noise in the area already travels quite well, as well as concerns around cars having to park on the shoulder of the road and increased potential for accidents on a road that is already prone to accidents. We have not received any other comments, but there will be a notice in the newspaper, so that will allow more avenues for people to comment on this application as well, which will be brought to the Board of Directors meeting at the end of the month. And that concludes the summary. Please let me know if there's any questions I can help to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Comment.
Yeah, comment?
I'm just thinking of the issues that we have in the Upper Squamish Valley with relatively small properties holding these kinds of events and the effect it has on neighbours. Now, I don't know this area, I don't know this property, but I was looking at the size and the proximity of other places. 56 meters is not very far away. And neither is 175 meters when you're looking at a wedding and music and dancing and things like that. So I just wonder whether by issuing this, you'd be creating a problem.
Okay,
I just have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
So it says that the preferred option is to reject this permit, this temporary use permit. If it's rejected by this committee, it doesn't go to the board? Is that how it works? Or it still goes to the board either way?
If it's rejected here, it stops here.
No, it's a recommendation.
Okay,
So if we, as a committee, say we're not supportive, then that recommendation goes to the board as we're not supportive, staff aren't supportive.
so then
Okay.
figure it out
I
from
just
there.
wanted to, okay,
Yeah,
well, I would move that we don't support, that we support the recommendation of staff to not support.
option one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna second it?
Yeah.
Because I was, yeah, no, I totally agree. That I'll just put my 2 cents worth in. So I drive past this place every day. My concern is, how do you keep it at 199 people and you don't have 210 or 250 or whatever? And the problem is, they only say they have parking for 40 cars. But 40 cars, 2 people per car, that's only 80 people. For 4 people per car, it's 160, right? So there's gonna be cars parked on Portage Road.
Yep.
And there's no shoulder there, really, for parking anywhere. It's a narrow road, it's windy road, it's just, it can make for very unsafe situations. Back to your point, the proximity to the neighbors. And I mean, when it's quiet there, it's quiet. So if you have any noise whatsoever, it's gonna travel north or south, unobstructed sort of thing. As we were told somewhere, trees do not contain noise. Right? So anyways, yeah, I have real thoughts, and back to your Squamish Valley, example. I just don't think people live in that corridor to enjoy the quietness and all that. That's why they live there. Now, I do believe that the person that owns this property lives in Squamish. They don't live there. They've got somebody else on here actually putting this forward for them. So anyways, I totally agree with option one, and I support what you guys have done. So moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, director's reports. 8.1, highlight picnic bench replacement, Director Jones. So when we were at Seton, I guess 3 weeks ago now or whatever, with Allison, Omar, and Vivian, to talk about the park up there. One of the concerns that quite a number of the people that were attending that brought up was this picnic table disappeared through the fire. It burned up when it was gone, right? And I mean, I've driven by that thing countless times, and it's on a beautiful point of the road pullout, and you can look down Seton Lake, Anderson Lake. It's just very nice. So anyways, that was one of their big concerns, right? Replace the table. So on the way back, Allison and Omar and we stopped at that location, and I showed them where the table was. And so, the plan, okay, well, let's replace it. So I think it's a great idea. And so Vivian's come up with some money to do this. And I had told her at the time that I would also be willing to put money towards it, but she's got it figured out here at this point, so we'll leave it at that. Who they've contacted is Scott Esseltine at Smartwoods Products. He builds the picnic tables for provincial parks. So they're the nice wood heavy structures. They're throughout the village. When I worked for the village at the time, I got a bunch from him. Anyways, yeah, they're really nice. So I think that's a great deal. My only concern is we've got to make sure we mount it securely enough that somebody doesn't come along and go, wow, that's a nice table, I'll take that one home. So we'll have to figure that one out.
Make it really, really heavy, full of steel.
Oh, it's heavy, but yeah, you gotta have an anchor down. Anyways.
Whose land is this that's going on? Is it?
Well, it's right on the edge of the Highline Road.
Oh.
So the road comes around a bit of a bend. There's a piece that goes out that's nice and flat and smooth. So I guess now that is a highway or whatever, it's off the edge of the highway. So.
Yeah, maybe 2 picnic tables and a little urine diversion toilet as well, make it a nice rest stop.
Yeah, well, let's start out with one thing at a time here.
Okay.
We could put in a hot dog stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Man,
anyways. Yes,
Through the chair, as Director Birch Jones isn't with us today, I do need a resolution of the board to approve consideration of this request in her absence before we move to that piece.
Is this just
Yeah,
saying?
here is her,
It's as per the procedures bylaw.
So,
is that what?
As per the procedures bylaw. So director's reports, if the director is not with us, we do need a resolution
the resolution to say what?
to consider the funding request.
to the board.
No,
No,
it is
it's
select
to this committee,
funds,
it's
so
select
it's
funds,
to the
so-
committee, yeah.
So if I move that we consider Vivian's request, but her alternate is here, Jackie's here.
what's the point of having an alternate be able to sit in her space if she can't?
Yes,
Anyways.
and thank you for that. And there will be an opportunity through the procedures bylaw review to take a look at
Yeah.
that piece and see if there is interest to change that. But as it's written
As
right
it's written
now.
right now.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's 2 ways in which to do it. And for this particular one, we will need a resolution of the committee. Yet there's another director's report, and we've embedded in that director's report approval to consider it because it's in writing. So,
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll move that we consider this report.
thank you.
second.
Yeah. You second it?
Yep.
Okay. So it's moved and seconded. I'll call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Right.
So this means now it will go to the board at the end of the month?
No. I'm gonna move now that we allocate $4,000 from Area B Select
Okay,
funds for this
perfect.
purpose.
So it's done.
Well, it's gotta be seconded and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was seconded.
No, this is a new one.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've now got permission to consider this request.
okay.
So I'm moving that we approve $4,000 from Area B Select funds for the purpose as stated here.
Very good. Moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, excellent.
And I'll just comment that if we're going to have somebody sitting as an alternate, they should be a full participating director at that time. And so I hope we do look at that and change it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I thought that was the case.
Yeah, so did I.
Do you want a resolution to make the recommendation to the governance committee to reevaluate that part of the procedures bylaw
We
as
can
part of the ongoing governance work?
Well, let's do that, yeah.
through
Yeah.
the,
Right.
Since you have the chair of the governance committee here.
Well, I shouldn't move it then.
No, it's okay. So you're gonna move it. I'll second it.
Do you have the language that you want?
Call a question, moved and seconded, call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. So you've got that
Yeah, this is
beautiful resolution that
this is very good.
Director Ford put together there.
Right, so then,
Wonderful. Okay, 8.2. Letter regarding Highway 99 at all bus concerns. Director Bridge Jones. That the letter from the Owl Bus Service be received and forwarded to the board for information and consideration of a board letter to the Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, emphasizing concerns related to the state of this vital transportation route. So, and that has to do with the condition of the Duffy Lake Road once again, does it not?
It has already been sent to the Premier, Minister of Transportation, Mayor of Lillooet. It looks like it's already
Yeah,
been addressed to them. And then we could write a letter of support on behalf of the Lillooet Friendship Society. I think we just receive for information, refer it to the board and receive for information.
okay. Receive for information and forward to the board for information
Yeah.
or recommendation.
Well, I think that this is informing our other bigger advocacy around roads and maintenance
Yeah,
and it further.
well, and back to the discussion we had previously with Omar about this Duffy Lake Road thing and how bad it is. Here's a classic example there that
Yeah.
is really impactful, right?
So that's why I think this is good to receive for information and helpful to inform that bigger advocacy.
Okay, moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Tony?
I was just gonna comment that transit, this kind of transit, this our bus service that was being provided, just as important for the people in that area as transit is in the sea to sky is to us. And we are a regional district, and I really think we need to, when we're thinking transit, we have to open our minds up to include the whole region and support this kind of a thing when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that all busing is critical to that area, right?
I'm in favor of all this that we're doing. So,
Just an example of this. You know, last week I drove my older colleagues at the lake all the way to and I got up, we started at 5 a.m. actually, driving to Kamloops for his knee operation. and I stayed the night and drove them back. There's no avenue for anything like that from where we are. So that is particularly happening in our valley. People have to have an operation and have to stay 1 or 2 nights and then how do they get back? They won't be able to drive.
Yeah, it's, well, even like I was thinking from Darcy, now. All say like, the Quaqua, well, they all have their own bus system, right? Is there a way that we, as a regional district, can tap into those? The service they have, like, I don't know how often they run it. Like how often it comes to town or if it's a. Sort of you have to make an appointment or whatever, but.
Do you mean the medical services one that goes through Vancouver Coastal Health?
Yeah, well, it
Or
goes,
interior
it
health?
comes in, say, yeah, it comes into the clinic here, goes to Whistler. I know it does go on a weekly basis to Squamish, to take people shopping and to do whatever they have to do in Squamish. Now I'm just wondering if it's open to like the non-native population. You know, say in Darcy, there's elderly people there that could definitely make an appointment, get on the bus and go for a drive, right? Go to their appointments and stuff. How could we get involved in that in the meantime before I mean, I don't ever foresee us having bus service to Darcy on our own. Or through BC Transit or whoever.
I think we need more information. Can you ask at your next PDIF, is it PDIF that? Or is it PVIS where you talk about your transit contribution? Because it would be a different line. It's
Yeah.
separately funded through the nation
Yeah,
and not through any of our channels.
no.
So maybe.
So I'm sure their funding comes through INAC for their,
We don't know.
yeah, no.
We can find out.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. 9.1. Correspondence for action, request for funding, Lillooet Music Society Annual Concert Series. Lillooet Music Society requests funding of $2,500 to help offset artist fees and other expenses, including venue rental, accommodation, and technical support for the annual Lillooet Music Concert Series.
How do we deal with this?
I was just gonna ask Jackie, do you want to speak to this or?
Just want to support this particular application and the use of select funds. I believe this is the way that Vivian wanted this to go through. So I'm not too sure if we have to do this a different way than the previous. Do we have to have a resolution? Like, what's the procedure?
Through the chair, we just can approve the funding as is.
We can approve it as is?
We can.
Okay. Okay, you'd like to make that motion then, Jackie?
Yes, please.
Okay, and I'll second it. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, but we just assume that Vivian supports it, do we?
Yeah, because through
Well,
the
she
chair, her
Well, she hasn't put
alternate.
this in. This has come from the Lillooet Music Society, direct to the SLRD. So Vivian may not have even seen this. Now, I don't oppose it in any way, and I'm just talking about procedure here. We could get something like this that came in that the alternate didn't know anything about, that the area director had never seen, and a decision could be made. I don't think that's right. I think that all requests, if the board receives a request, staff receive a request, it goes to the director and it doesn't get considered at this table until the director has provided a report supporting it. So yeah, this particular one, as I say, I have no issue with supporting music and in the community, and no issue with that at all. It's just the process.
Jackie, go ahead.
Just to clarify what Tony is saying, then the rest of these correspondence pieces, what he's proposing is that they should all actually be under the director's reports, so that we have confirmation that the director has received and understands what's happening. Correct?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, and just to be clear, all of the things on the agenda, Vivian and I have spoken about and corresponded by email, so that she's given it to me, so that, yeah, it's on the list and I have knowledge and she has knowledge. So at least I know that all of these particular items under the correspondence, she has already reviewed and told me to go ahead and approve. But I understand what you're saying in this case. So if that's a point of procedure, that's for further discussion.
Jen,
Just to the, so I hear what you're saying, and if a rogue group decided to write a letter and it goes straight onto the agenda, but to our previous discussion and motion to reevaluate the procedures bylaw and to reevaluate the authority with which an alternate director is sent to the board to make the decision on your behalf, for example, there has to be an assumption that you've read the package, your alternate has read the package, Jackie's supporting this application. And if it was something that she had concerns about, either from Vivian or her own, she has the authority to ask those questions and deny. So I think the process is working. By having the correspondence on the package for consideration, either by the director or by your alternate, that is the democratic authority of each of you to come to this meeting and make that decision. If you had an alternate that didn't agree with you and came in your place, and there was a letter in this section that had come directly to the board, even if you did not agree with the direction, that person is sitting there in your authority and can make that decision without. So you're adding a layer of which we've just asked staff to reevaluate, that layer of delegated authority. So be careful. That I just feel like the concern you've just brought up is the conversation we're about to have with the governance committee.
Okay.
And I think this informs that, but.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of one that recently happened where the first time I saw a request, and it was a substantial one,
Yes,
it's the one
yes.
for $40,000.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it was when I got the agenda package. And the meeting is just, you know, a couple of days later. And I had never even spoken with that person. I had no idea what it was all about. Well, I did have some idea, but I mean, nobody had talked to me about it. And so I think when that got to staff, that should have come to me before it appeared on the agenda, to give me a chance to evaluate it and decide how to proceed. You know? So it can be referred to that committee as a
It's a process.
process and a procedure.
Because it also does come through the agenda planning committee with the chair and the corporate officer and the CAO. And so if a letter came through without going to you first, it has come through 3 processes before it gets onto the agenda. And then maybe there's a process with which the chair needs to advise the area director that this letter is being added to the board agenda that you may or may not know.
At least that.
I think that might have just been a misstep. That has been the practice when a request comes from the community for funding, that the individual sending it is asked to contact the area director. That has been a process. I think perhaps it was late received, a misstep, but generally, that message is given, please reach out to the area director, and so that they're aware of this request. So I'm not sure about the particulars of that.
No, no,
But generally, we have that informal process. And it seems like it was missed. For whatever reason
So-
this time.
Yeah, and then just throw in the, if you got a conflict of interest. Right, so that plays into it too. But I think if, just like you mentioned, that's the key, is to, you know, whether it's the grant writer or a different organization, that the director gets copied on anything that goes in. And if they don't get copied on it, then use that protocol. This is being submitted. But it's all good for the governance.
Yeah.
To work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I just speak to the director's report is, and the board can certainly look at that as part of the procedures, but that's just to ensure that the director, you know, something isn't heard in their absence. So they've gone to the trouble to prepare a director's report, and if there was a last minute change of who was attending, just to ensure that item, you know, if the consent isn't there, it just isn't a higher level, just an extra step to, and it could definitely be looked at and streamlined if that was the board, but very different from a community request coming in and being put on the agenda.
Right.
So in the end, we have moved and seconded this. We're moving it forward.
It's already been approved.
Pardon me?
You already called the question.
Yeah.
Yes. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you. 9.2, request for funding.
Statly of
Yeah,
grad
go
committee.
ahead.
Yeah, Jackie, go ahead.
There was an email string that I was CC'd on, and Sal was corresponding with Director Burch-Jones. The Director Burch-Jones would like to contribute $2,500 towards this grad committee graduation event on the 27th.
Okay, pardon me.
Can you approve that that's been selected?
It was just so.
Like the,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, as alternate Rasmussen said, that we did go back and forth, and she wanted a total of $2,500. So she's willing, I said, I'd like to chip in 500 to Area A select funds. So the total is 2,500. So her portion is only 2,000.
Okay, and then you're putting in 500 of yours
Yes,
towards this.
yeah.
So how do we do that?
That's fine. We can put it in one resolution,
Yeah.
$2,000 from Area B Select
And
and
$500
$500
from
from Area A Select.
Okay. Okay, moved and seconded. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, you got that then? Okay. You're okay with that, Jackie? Okay,
Yes, definitely. Sorry, I just misread, obviously. Thanks for the clarification. Director Demare.
Yeah. Maybe it's, okay, now this is actually directed to Director Jones.
Am I allowed to speak to that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so yes, I have been, I've been correspondence with Director Birch Jones about this, and yes, she would like to, we would like to put towards the junior golf program, 5,885 as requested. Can I make a motion for that?
Yes,
I'll second it.
yeah, Sal's gonna second it, so moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you, now we do 9.4.
I can probably go again if you like for the next one.
Let's wait.
So I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead with the request for Squamish-Lillooet of funding for $5,000 from Area B select funds to cover the costs associated with the website development.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
And I can do the next one as well.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I'd like to put a motion forward to approve the funding request from the Lillooet District Chamber of Commerce, funding for $1,000 towards the costs associated with the 2024 Canada Day celebrations in Lillooet.
Second.
Okay, seconded. Moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Chair,
Thank you.
I'll have to declare a conflict of interest for the next two, 9.6 and 9.7. As my daughter is an employee of BRBCA and my wife is a director on the board.
Okay, thank you.
That first one.
Okay, moved and seconded. Oh, yeah, moved and seconded. Okay, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, 9.7. Request for funding Marshall Valley Community Association, Marshall Valley Fire Smarting 2024 vegetation debris disposal.
Now, this is addressed to you.
Yes, I understand. I'm looking at that one. Yeah, that's quite hard. But as the chair, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I really think we've got to look at the way that grant requests are made.
yeah.
It's a little confusing at the moment. I think we're navigating this okay, and there's nothing really contentious in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we're in a weird spot where we couldn't give a clear, this is how you do it to anyone right now.
See, and I wonder if in this case, they realize that Sal has a conflict, so they directed it to the chair
Probably.
instead of,
Well, we had a lengthy discussion about this at our last board meeting, so
Yeah.
anyone that was likely watching that meeting has now taken
Yeah.
that directive to do it differently.
yeah,
But how staff navigate this space is because the next director may not have the same conflict.
yeah, right.
So I think that's the governance piece.
Okay, so moved and seconded.
so, and the Marshall Valley Community Association, it's a committee of Ridge River Valley Community Association.
Yeah.
That it's applying by itself, it's a separate entity by the
Yeah.
looks of it. So why would Sal need to be declaring a conflict? Oh,
Let's
that's
not
a
get
question
into
for
that
him.
right now.
Yeah, I know,
It's a
because that's,
committee, it's a committee of Brevca, so Brevca would
Yeah.
be the recipient of this funding.
Brevka is a recipient.
Yeah.
and it passes it on. Okay, anyways, moved and seconded, call the question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
See, and that prompts the whole question about
Well, then you can have 15 different groups under one group, all applying for different funds, and you could end up with a whole bunch of funds going out the door to the same group without the transparency. So you want to like understand how many different entities are out there and who can apply and when they can apply. We need to streamline that. Thanks. Sidebar,
I'm just,
all good.
I'm doing picky today, I can see that.
You are being picky, Tony. Come on. It's a
Okay,
beautiful day
9.8.
and lunch is ready.
Request for funding, Pembroke Valley Trails Association, Trail Maintenance Apprentice, Proposal 2024. Request funding of $4,009 as matching funds with Canada Parks and Recreation Association Green Jobs Initiative Program to maintain a part-time trails position.
So moved.
So,
Thank you. Seconded.
From.
I don't know, what do you think of this? Your area?
I think it's wonderful.
Oh, okay.
From select.
Read the room,
Yes.
Tony. He's happy.
I read the request and I'm impressed with what they're doing.
They're very,
Yeah,
they're good.
they're actually starting to do a apprenticeship program for the trail maintenance.
Yeah.
It's really outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, it's good. So that's good. So moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
How does this group relate to our staff?
How do they relate to our staff?
Well, we have
Through Allison,
trails coordinator.
through
So-
Allison.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Cause I do believe she attends their, I was gonna say monthly meetings. I don't know if they're monthly, but.
Yeah, through the chair, the trails coordinator with the SLRD does attend meetings with PDTA on a regular basis
Yeah.
and liaises
Yeah.
with them on the programs and projects that they have ongoing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so she would be supporting this as part of it. All right, I'll leave it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you. Good.
Next request for funding tourism permanent slow food cycle Sunday and 2023 event recovery. Anyways, I will, hang on, I want to get to, so I will move this. Excuse me, from select funds. And Jen's gonna second it.
Okay.
So what are you moving? The goal?
Total of 7,500.
Yeah. So, because we're trying to help them out somewhat from, last year we had to shut their event down because of the fire situation. Because the Valley Road was being used as the main exit from Gun Lake Brainerd. So anyways, I will move this. Jen seconded it, or Sal's gonna second it, whatever. So moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. And that's a one-time
Time shot.
top up, so to speak. Okay.
And
Okay.
Okay, so now decision on late business. None, I believe. Late business. None, director's notice of motion. Tony,
I'll move with Joan, please.
very good, thank you.
I'll second it.
Do I have to call
I'm
it?
opposed.
You
I
want
want to
to?
talk about some of these things for a little longer.
Okay, let's stay. I mean, not all day.
Let's go talk.
No, we don't. You see, I was gonna make a comment at lunchtime that I